Hello everyone, this is MJ. Um, my video is going to kind of be a hybrid between questions 1 and 3. I really like the social aspects of it all. Um, I wanted to say first, in the third video this week, comment by Dr. Smith really interested me. I really enjoyed it, and I intend to pick it up. It's a journal written by James Axtell. So it's either an entry in the journal or a book on what if there were no Indians? And I found that really interesting because, uh, well, take it back to the Viking Age. I know completely out of the parameters, but Leif Erikson said when they were leaving and not settling permanently, they were still going to be there, but they weren't settling permanently. He said the land was fruitful, but it was occupied. And of course, it was occupied by the Indians. So we fast forward a few centuries later, and we have the Spanish and Portuguese excursions into the Americas. I'll focus on the Spanish. Uh, they once they dealt with the Incan Empire and the Aztecs. Of course, the Incan Empire was already kind of dealt with through civil war, but once the Aztecs were taken care of, the conquistadors eventually left after not finding gold or the riches that they were looking for, and they were replaced by Jesuit uh, priests, and they established monasteries, and a social order developed um, out of all of that. Towns developed around the monasteries, and life went on, and with Christianity. And then you see the same thing happen in colonial New England with the Puritans, and you see at Jamestown as well. And more social um, uh, comes into play here, mainly because of the how far everyone was from their homes. The Puritans were actually a bunch of different groups. Some were Puritans, some were not, but they all chose to come together in the Mayflower Compact and other decisions made by Governor Winthrop and the people there, and they made a Christian social order, and they made it work. Later on, as time went on through the colonial period, people came from different areas in Germany, the Huguenots in France, and the other groups, the Moravians later on, and they established their social order. And the reason why I start with the social order is because the um, the social order is important because it started. It's you can see its beginnings. The revolutions, the American Revolution beginnings from that, from the social order. It starts in the church. It started the hierarchy of the Anglican Church. They didn't want to repeat that from places that they left. Some of them left Catholic areas. But it's really important to have a social background in all of this and to see how you can see the beginnings of the American Revolution and what would become later. Um, then fast forward to the colonial or to the Revolutionary period and pre-colonial period. You have the American Revolution going on, and the state of Virginia does something interesting, and a lot of interesting things were happening in Virginia at this time. And one of the most interesting things was the Virginia statute for establishing religious freedom. Now, this is important because this is pre Constitution, and you can kind of see the American Constitution developing out of this. What's interesting is in modern day, you have, the Supreme Court decided on the separation of church and state. And this is something in his bill number 82 that Madison sponsored, but that Jefferson constructed, and what he didn't construct, he approved of. The bill number 82 is the one that the Supreme Court cites as there being, as the founding fathers wishing for separation of church and state. Justice Rutledge, his opinion reveals that the court knew the legislative history of the code, and they referred to Jefferson as the chairman of the revising committee and chief draftsman. The problem is if you consider just bill number 82, yeah, it looks like he wanted a massive wall of separation of church and state. But what really is, you have to consider the bills after that, 82 through 86, including 82. Jefferson stated in Bill 84 and 86, the disturbers of religious worship and Sabbath breakers, and for appointing days of public fasting and thanksgiving. And Jefferson, through Madison, Madison sponsored some of these bills, but Jefferson approved of them. And so when the Supreme Court studied this, they just took bill number 82, and that was interesting. It kind of goes towards my theme that I've had in other videos and other classes, that when you're doing research, don't just stop at where your point is made. Do all of the research. So anyway, thank you.